Right, okay everyone, I have got myself some Mark III Tactical Marines, which are going to form part of my Imperial Fist force. Now, I'm going to only do a review and then later on I'll do the individual models. My intention is probably to do literally one of each body frame, and then later on I'm going to also show you the special weapons upgrade set, or in a different video anyway. So I really want to get a kind of look as well at how these size up to other Horus Heresy miniatures. So in order to do that, I've got my Night Lord here in the Corvus. That's the one, the Corvus armour. You know, I do love my Night Lords, and Night Lords versus Imperial Fists is, you know, quite an interesting battle, basically. And I've also got Alexis Pollux here, because he is, without a doubt, just so completely amazing. He is, of course, the Crimson Fist. And you can see on this guy, you know, I've started giving him a red fist. I've also given him blue trims in the colours of the Crimson Fists, because I felt that was absolutely essential. So I'm going to compare those models to this to kind of get a feel and a look. I can't remember if Alexis Pollux is in Mark II plate, if memory serves. Wearing, oh gosh, my brain will pop out any second now and remember the points that I'm trying to make. But basically, I think it's Crusade armour that he wears, whereas Mark III is iron armour. I believe I'm correct about that. Okay, so, you know, the Mark III definitely has a stronger feel to it. It really suits certain forces, in my opinion, far better than any other. So take, for example, I believe that it looks fantastic on Iron Warriors, Death Guard. This kind of Mark II, Mark III looks really good for those. And then as you move into the kind of Mark IV armour, which, oh wow, what is the Mark IV armour? So you've got Mark IV armour. Ooh, my brain can't quite remember which Mark that is, because then you've got the Heresy armour, the Corvus armour, and then the Aquila armour, finally leading to the Primaris, different types of Primaris armour that you can get. Okay, so what I'm going to definitely do though is I'm going to actually do a build video for these individually when I get around to it. However, what I'm really probably going to look at doing is, because I will be mixing in special weapons at the same time, that'll be quite an interesting set of videos. However, there are, you know, certain looks to these that are really great. So I will do individual builds for each one of these and show you how to do that. And then on top of that, I will then separately go through how to add the special weapons frames. So of course you get 20 miniatures in this. So this is going to be good for me, because then I can do a whole build of regular Marines potentially. I can do a whole build of special weapon Marines, and then I can do a whole build, you know, just work like that basically. Okay, let's have a look at how these appear. Now, one of the things that I am curious about is, you know, how well, let me just kind of get this all separated out, you know, how well they kind of measure up to the Mark VI Corvus armour, and how they look to, say, next to someone like Alexis Pollux. So let's just have a quick look at the sprue and have a good idea of, you know, what we're getting on here. So we know for a fact, if you've ever built the Horus Heresy box set, that there's five models on this frame, and once you've basically got those put together, you do have some freedom about how things go. What I am interested in reviewing this and looking at this in particular is, does this armour, and I'm pretty certain this is iron armour, does it feel tougher in particular than the Corvus armour, which I have personally always seen as the stealth armour, effectively? I don't know if that's not really an accurate description of the Corvus armour as stealth, but a lot of people, when they look at it, they feel that that's what it implies. It's the Raven Guard sneaking around armour, as a lot of people would feel. This works really well for the Night Lords, this armour. It works great for the Raven Guard, it works great for the Alpha Legion, it just looks the part on them, and it feels like it belongs to that aesthetic group. With this one needs to feel like it is solid, rock solid. So, you know, basically you're not at risk of basically getting sniped easily. You look like you could basically build a wall out of them, and that's what I want to feel when I put these together. So let's have a look at them first. I like the way that the armor looks. It's very hard to sort of properly describe it, but it's actually got, for armor that's very beefy, the armour does actually curve, so there isn't really any harsh edges on it. If you look very carefully, the armour doesn't really suddenly feel like it stops dead for, you know, in an absolute way. There's a lot of beveling going on with it, so if you look here, it kind of tapers around. So although it looks squared when you look at it quite towards a front view, when you actually start looking at it, it does very clearly and smoothly move around. Now, there are some things that I really like about that, and I think in particular, when I look at this armour, I can really see that, you know, this would work so beautifully for the Death Guard. You know, that kind of, the way that their armour looks quite organic in nature because it's moulded to them. You could really imagine this just slowly being corrupted and polluting and changing. So I like the idea of the way it looks. It's got a kind of perfect combination of blockiness, but it's not squared. It flows and it tapers. This is one of these things I do find about Space Marine arm guards. I don't know. This is always something about these shoulder guards. They feel in a lot of ways like no matter which kit you get, they all basically follow the exact same pattern of, you know, a curve, you know, an elongated curve. And again, I think what might have made these slightly better is if they tried to get these to feel more like these, where, you know, give it a bit more squareness to it, but then still allow it to curve away. And I think that would have enhanced it. So I think a lot of people tend to actually hold the view that shoulder guards on a lot of Games Workshop models are very basic in design. They don't, you know, they add things to them, they taper them, you know, change them slightly between miniatures. But actually, they've always tend to follow this very clear pattern of a curve, basically. And if you put four of them together, glued four of them together, you would basically get a, what's it called, an oblate spheroid. Probably not quite an accurate description of that, but, you know, that's what you would get. You would get something not quite a sphere. I'm not sure what these are right now, but I would assume... Actually, that is quite a weird looking thing. I'm genuinely curious what those 52s are. They could be anything, really. They're definitely not up for over the... They're not for over the knees. They don't appear to be... What are they? I'm very, very curious about what those things are, because if I look at, for number 52, on the instructions, there's nothing that immediately kind of jumps out and says that's what 52 is. Interesting. We're going to have a really good look later on about what the purpose of these are. Are they kind of something that goes over the guns? Are they decoration of some kind? I actually don't know. Looking at this, it doesn't seem to be something that immediately jumps out at me and says I know what that's for. Okay, let's keep looking though, and keep having a good explore of this. So what else have we got here? Weapons. So bolt guns. I'm obviously not going to be using the bolt guns on most of these. I'm going to be using the special weapons set, but I do like looking at different patterns of bolt gun. So let me just get one into focus. And there we go. So again, the bolt guns for the Corvus are different, which I'm pleased about. They have a more of a, I suppose, a very... actually, it's interesting to look at them actually and describe, because again, I would say this has a more of a curved feeling to it compared to these. These are actually quite blocky and squared, aren't they, compared to these? So again, that's an interesting thing to see on this older mark of armour. Of course, the ammo clips are different. They're more opened, whereas these have a closed, so you can't see the bolts. Looking at the hands as well, the hands of the Space Marines don't seem to change that much between them. Okay, let's have a look now at the heads. Again, this is where it screams like Death Guard in particular. It really kind of, this feels like what you get before you get a Death Guard helmet. But again, it works well for any Space Marine Legion that infers, solidity of standing firm. The spikes on the top, oddly enough, I've no doubt that if you laid these out in a line as if they were ranked, it would give the impression of kind of like a spiked topped wall. And again, I think that kind of logic is nice to look into, and it helps build up a feeling, particular, it gives it a particular kind of ethos almost and appearance. So yeah, you've got some quite nice ones. As I said, I think these would look lovely as Death Guard actually, but I'm not sure that I will do them as Death Guard. What else have we got here? A few head options, so bareheaded options. Again, you've got this kind of covered mask. Fantastic if you're a Death Guard player, to give that impression that he's breathing something that might not actually be, well, he might need to protect his face from horrible air. And looking as well, backpacks. Backpacks always interest me because, again, different backpacks infer different... There we go. Different time periods between the Horus Heresy, but also then the, early Great Crusade, late Great Crusade, Horus Heresy, which are these particular backpacks, what we're looking at here, and beyond. So again, I like it. What I like about these is they have a certain amount of callback to Aquila armour. And then these, they lack that rear fan, and that rear kind of vent there is actually on Aquila armour. So you can see that Aquila armour will frequently end up as a combination of those. I'm really hoping in the future they will give us some new Aquila armour. I would really love some new Aquila armour in the, if they basically progress the Horus Heresy a bit further on, past the actual heresy itself, which I really hope they will do. They deal with the long-term implications of it. So let's have a look at this then compared to Alexis Pollux. I think the reason I'm convinced that he is in Crusade armour and not iron armour is because of the exposed pipes that are on the front of his armour. and but it's not a mark after Mark III, because the backpack is the Mark III style of backpack. So it's always difficult when you're looking at a character, because of course their armor has been styled. It's got certain, you know, add-ons to it that the regular Mark of armor doesn't. But I'm reasonably confident that he's wearing Mark II armor, Alexis Pollux. And I do love this miniature, but I absolutely think he's amazing. He's such a big guy that it wasn't until I got the model of him that I realised he wasn't in Terminator armour. Like the way that they describe him, and his massive power fist, and just the way that the miniature is, your brain just sort of, I don't know why, but my brain wrote him as wearing Terminator armour, but it was obvious he never was. Anyway, so what I like is it's a nice set. It's got those kind of it's very brutal, heavy armor. It's designed to take punishment. It's the kind of stuff that you expect assault marines to have. You expect them to wear while breaching and heading into serious danger. And I think, you know, this is what I want to go for these. So just to kind of finish up as well, I just want to talk about the command squad. So the command upgrades and the little extra pieces that you get on the command upgrade. Some of you may notice rather quickly that it looks to me like it's the same one you get for the Mark VI. So it's not different, it's the same add-ons and the same extras, which, to be fair, I'm not gonna complain about, to be blunt. I don't think that it causes any issues in any, you know, in any way, because the actual, they're very generic, you know, pistol holsters, you know, things like this. Again, they can attach wherever you need them to attach. I think if anything potentially might look out of place on this is this power fist, because it looks very Mark VI, whereas these down here, they're obviously Mark III, and there is a clear difference in the way that arm is structured. Again, if I try and get Alexis Pollux's arm, who I'm pretty certain, again, is a Mark II, it has that kind of more brutal squareness to it than this armour. And, you know, you can see that's very clearly, that feels more like a Mark VI arm. And I think that's where potentially I might have an issue with it, but not in a major way. I'm not really going to hold it against it. Plus you can use that sword as well, which again acts as a power, you know, it is a power sword. So if you wanted something different, if you are into your lightning claws, then you can build the powerful fist up into a lightning claw instead. Again, that's you know, really good thing for things like Night Lords. And you know what, that's it really. As I said, it's really what's going to make it is when I start painting this up and having a good look at it and seeing how it feels when I put it all together. But overall, you know, I like having different marks of armour. One of the things about the build up to the Horus Heresy is there were so many Space Marines that trying to get new armour out to everyone wasn't always easy, and they still kept the old armour because it usually would have very specific functions. So there we go. Right. So there's a nice little review of the Mark III. I can't wait to actually start building this and showing you what it all looks like when it's actually put together. But my next video is going to be a look at the special weapons upgrade kit. So please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.